This is Kirti, clinical psychologist, certified ABA therapist, HOD of psychology department at Daffodils CDC, Hyderabad. See, today we are going to discuss another interesting topic, and this topic I had to choose because there are a lot of questions from our center parents on this. Like when I meet them personally during a counseling sessions or any time, I get this question very often. What is that question is, ma'am, my child does lot of self-talk. Means he just sits and recites ABCD, 1, 2, 3, rhymes, or just talks something or the other randomly. It's not interacting with us or anything, it's just to him, he'll do the self-talk. So let's see today what is the self-talk and what is the importance that we have to reduce this self-talk and what are little remedial strategies we can use through ABA therapy. Okay, so what is the self-talk? See, self-talk is nothing but a repetitive verbalization, or it could be the verbalization of their thoughts, or it could be their previous past experiences, their events. They just repeat it without any external interaction. See, you might be wondering, self-talk, even we sometimes, like when we are like going to an interview or doing some important game or sports, we just say, come on, we can do it, let's do it. So we just do the self-talk. But when the self-talk becomes excessive, and especially with the children in autism, they lack social interaction, the social awareness, and the self-regulation skills. When this happens, this self-talk or the excessive self-talk leads to problems like delayed communication, and they cannot interact socially, and they cannot regulate their skills, and also they can't have a chance to involve with the others. They might be just in their own world doing this self-talk. So why do you think we have to reduce this self-talk? Yeah, self-talk in a clinical perspective, what we say is a form of stimming or a vocal stimming. It's a form of stimming. Stimming is nothing but, as we said it in our previous videos, it is a self-stimulatory behavior. The child might do it for self-soothing, self-stimulation, and this behavior again will be a concerning when it is hindering their learning. So do you think, like, to reduce this, what could be an importance? Many might have this doubt, but definitely I would say today there is a very much significance if we reduce this self-talk. I can say in 3 major points. First is, it will improve the focus and attention. Like how? Say for example, a child is sitting and solving a puzzle. He is fixing the puzzle, and in between it becomes little complex to the child. So a mental effort has to be put on more. Then what happens is, out of this a kind of a frustration and anxiousness in order to finish that puzzle, the child might start the self-talk. So if we reduce the self-talk with remedial strategies, what happens? The child's focus and attention increases more. The second point, it enables more and more social interactions. See, when given in a school scenario or any play event anywhere, in a group of children, there might be a group interactions or a group play. And the child is unable to understand what is happening, or he is just detached with them and tries to start that self-talk. It is like self-stimulation to himself in order to avoid those situations, what is happening there. So again, if we try to reduce this self-talk, what happens? It will enable the child to have more social interactions. And the third major important, which is always a core life skill for a child, that is to complete or to improve the task completion. And the task completion is very important life skill, and we are at our center definitely start off our goals with the task completion. So what happens is, again, a child, when he gets a kind of, maybe because of a disturbances from the environment, very noisy surroundings or very bright lights. So in order to avoid that, again the child might start the self-talk, another kind of a form of stimming to avoid that. So what happens? he will be not finishing any of the tasks given either by a therapist or a teacher or a parent, anyone. So what happens? He will be stuck. The learning will be stopped. So what we would suggest is, again, reducing the self-talk in such situations will improve the task completion concept. So we have seen the 3 points. Now let us see what is the remedial strategies we can use using the ABA. So before the remedial strategies to be implemented, the first and foremost any ABA therapist does in order to reduce any of the challenging behaviors is functional assessment. So for reducing the self-talk behavior also, first we do a functional assessment. So with this, what happens is we can able to find the underlying function of why the child is doing this excessive self-talk. So when we find that function, so whatever strategies we are implementing, we can choose appropriately and make sure they are effective. And again, in ABA, the data itself will be shown as how the procedures are being worked on. So first the functional assessment will be done. And usually for excessive self-talk, the functions would be like an attention, or the child would be doing for a self-stimulatory or a self-regulation. So what could be a different strategies or a different remedial strategies? The first thing is replacement behaviors. Whenever a child does this excessive self-talk, we would suggest to do a replacement behavior to it, which is socially acceptable behavior. So a replacement behavior could be anything. For example, in a previous example, I said the child gets anxious, or when a little of a mental effort is increased, the child will be unable to finish the task and he gets anxious, frustrated, and does this self-talk. So do as replacement behavior. Teach the child, instead of self-talk, he can use a visual cue like break, help, stop. Or also, in order to control his anxious, the child can use a stress ball. A spiky stress ball or a visual stress ball, if a child is a sensory seeker, he can use that as well. But using the stress ball, using this visual cues, different replacement options which are socially appropriate will help the child to reduce their self-talk and use these socially appropriate strategies. And second is incompatible behaviors. So something like, a child is doing a self-talk. So as a parent, what you can do? You can do an incompatible behavior. In order to reduce that self-talk, at that moment, you can give another behavior for the same oro, the talking. What could be? You can give a child a sip of water, you can provide little small crunchy food, or could be a snack or a candy or a little cookie, anything during that time. So what happens is the child will able to understand every time when I am doing the self-talk, parents, mama or papa are giving me a small sip of water or a candy. If you maintain this consistently, this incompatible drinking or eating behavior, definitely the child will reduce the self-talk. And the next strategy is, this strategy is little kids who are little older, where they can able to self-control themselves. That is self-monitoring and self-recording. What you do is teach a child a tally sheet, like we do a straight line and cross it, right? A tally marks, like how we do, like simple line and strike it. So teach the child to record self whenever the talk is being excessive. And you can be able to make, first time in a trial, you can make the child, when they are doing the self-talk, you can make themselves do a tally mark. So when you teach it for a week, 2 weeks or 3 weeks, until the child will able to understand the strategy, slowly the child will self-monitor. He or she will be able to understand, okay, my tally marks, my counting is going ahead, so I have to reduce. So today they might have got 10 counts for their self-talk. When they self-monitor themselves and they change their strategy to an alternate behavior and see that tally marks or a self-recording, and they it reduces, drastically it reduces, and it is a very proven technique if the children are little older enough and they have that much of IQ to understand this concept. And the next strategy for younger ones usually is first teach them an appropriate play skills and make them learn a structured play. So what happens is when they are trying to fix some puzzles, or when they're trying to fix some blocks or setting some rings, they are unable to sort it out, or they don't know how to play. First of all, they get that anxious and they're little in their alone world and they start the self-talk. So what we can do is teach them how to play. Teach them the appropriate skill, whatever could be they are playing, like how to play. That itself will reduce lot of this self-talk. And the next one, this is also a very, very important one, and this by teaching children will be able to understand, that is token economy. That means that whenever a child is doing self-talk, you can first display a chart of tokens, could be a stars, a smileys, whatever child likes. So when you display it, what will happen is whenever the child is not doing the self-talk and involving nicely, put a star. But immediately the child has to able to relate that. And whenever the child is doing little self-talk, a star has to be removed. Again relating. When this token economy chart is given, so child will able to understand, okay, if I'm doing the excessive self-talk, my star is being removed. If I'm not doing anything and behaving and doing any alternative strategy, then a star is being added. So this simple concept child will be able to understand, but again, consistent practice. If it is today 10 times that has to be done. Every day, not one day or 2 days, any strategy has to be implemented at least for 1 to 2 months consistently. Then you will start noticing the changes. But with all this, again, in every time what I say in ABA, you have to record the data. Make sure when you start any of these strategies, first maintain the data, like how many times a day or how much time the child is doing this self-talk, and implement any of the strategy and then see how the data is going on. When the data itself tells you, yes, the child is reducing the self-talk. So using this simple ABA remedial strategies, you can make the child to understand and reduce their self-talk in order to increase their attention, focus, social interactions, and help them to improve their task completions. And if you still want to know any of the behaviors which are bothering your kids, so please put it on in our comment section. And if you want to know anything more about the child's development and psychology, please feel free to contact us at Daffodils CDC. Thank you.